August 24th, 1926, 10 miles outside of Mantua, Illinois. Annis, half nude, swung open the door of her caravan and began to ascend the ladder, then stopped and gasped, her heart pounding. Not a whimper escaped her mouth as she looked around. The tents and platforms had vanished. Not a makeshift building, not another caravan, not the animal cages, not even Madeline the elephant to greet her with the spray of water. The big top, standing firm in the center of the compound, missing. Everything familiar, gone. Overhead a blackbird rustled from its perch in a nearby tree. She glanced at it, locked eyes. The bird's peepers seared red. Anna shuddered. Something deep within her seemed to sense a hint of recognition, but shrugged it off. I have more immediate concerns to worry about. Anna stood poised to continue down the ladder to an unexpected future, yet one leg remained stuck on a step, as if it did not want to let go of its old life. She looked down at her costume, mangled beyond wearable, hanging by broken stitching. The beading chewed off, the cord that kept her corset tight against her ribs shredded and useless. Annis admired the majestic costumes she wore at a circus headliner. She flaunted them on stage, but all that didn't matter. Annis couldn't recall what had happened, and that troubled her. Dried scarlet makeup flaked off her cracked lips, and Annis's tongue traveled to her lip, discovered rough texture fused to her skin, piercing pain beating into her nerves. Any remaining lipstick tasted of dust from the threadbare oriental carpet. Annis welcomed the flavor of her copper blood as it reminded her she's still alive. Intercepting Annis's descent onto the ground, the blackbird flew down with its massive iridescent black wings to a lower branch next to the caravan. Its head turned sideways, and its claret eye dove into hers. The bird furthered its intrusion and crept to the very tip of the branch. The wood bounced up and down from the bird's girth, its beak a bit too close for Annis's liking. The sharpness of the bird's yapper could cut Annis's fear in half. Frantic calling and rattling escaped the bird's scissors. Then Annis heard in her mind, "What town is this, dear?" The sound of the bird's voice felt unnatural. Annis cringed. Its presence overtook her, felt a slave to it. "The town of Mantua is the closest." "Are you headed that way?" Annis sensed the bird already knew the answer, merely playing around. Being abandoned by the circus felt like no accident. Maybe the bird knew something she didn't. No. Annis's feet made it to the ground. She looked again at the bird and continued feeling its presence as familiar, but she has never had a conversation with a bird, let alone another animal. Not even a person ever communicated in her mind. This extra sensory contact a novelty. "Who are you?" Annis tried not to look at it, but curiosity beleaguered her life. She couldn't stop. The blackbird too large to be an ordinary blackbird. "I'm just a bird, like you. I live a solitary life." Annis's inner world always entertained her spirit, brought her joy when sadness and pain surrounded her. But Annis was born flawed, unable to express herself with a voice. She was a mute, hex, and a murderer. Annis didn't deserve anything else. "Do you know where the circus went?" "What circus is that, dear?" "Well, the one that was here. It's been here for the past month. Lindstrom and Drexel's circus troupe. I've never heard of it." The bird grabbed its snail with its beak and tugged. "I'm their star performer, Miss Annis the Enchantress." "Oh, that's right." The bird paused to continue chewing its nail. You know me? I've perched on your banner many times. Your raven hair looks just like how Frank painted it." Annis's stomach felt queasy, and the back of her neck buzzed. Her internal voice would be heard by her onlooker. Afraid to think or ponder what she should do, the bird would know. What if he could tap into her private thoughts and exploit her? Annis needed to get away. She lifted her knees one by one and marched towards the road with purpose, and no longer engaged with the bird. Rows of tall trees blocked the gigantic canvases. Both sides of the country road had a menagerie of players of the circus showcasing their talents and ensnared the spectators into their tents. She sucked in air and pushed her stomach towards her spine and moved between the trunks of the trees that could have been mistaken for a giant's fence if that onlooker didn't have their glasses or a rational head. There they were, all strung and knotted up on long metal poles with rope. They didn't have time to remove them, Anna said to herself. Frank bestowed considerable care with the painted images, spent weeks on her banner. Shapely gowns wrapped in pink stockings with white ruffled bloomers, her generous breasts enticing spectators to be teased and taunted by her sexual prowess, her nipples covered with feathers and sequins that matched the marvelous headdress atop her plaited ebony hair. Anna's heart-shaped lips impeccably colored in red, her blue eyes charmed by long lashes, her brows anchored above with black kohl. An Art Deco masterpiece. Frank, her unreturned love. Annis looked up into the sky, and the bird had tracked her, examining from the T-bar above. The bird stood erect on a perch, hers. It took a nosedive up the banner and landed on the road, hopped towards Annis. Don't be sad. Its red eyes gawked into Annis as it moved forward. I don't know what's happened to everyone, said Annis. Tears cascaded down her cheeks. She dropped her gaze. The bird's jumps gained momentum, stopped in front of her. I do. I know what happened. A high-pitched sound came from the clouds above. What do you want? Annis walked backward with her hands covering her ears, trying to avoid the unwarranted invasion. It teased her, but not close enough to make contact. Then the bird stopped. Annis watched the bird fly high up in the air like a bullet into a tiny ink-black hole in between the clouds. A loud, piercing bang hit the sky. Annis's eardrums rung, and the rain began its descent. The black droplets blistered her already sunburned skin. Annis ran for cover under a large tree with foliage that did a fair job of protecting her flesh. Drops of the tar hissed and formed bubbles. Slowly, the liquid made a muddy mess. Bubbles formed and popped into a spell-binding rhythm. A voice came from the froth. Don't be sad. Whatever plagued her life now missed. I deserve all of this. The blackbird sent to take her to hell. That's the only explanation Annis had for its presence. Feeling lost, abandoned, and now terrified, she wanted to go back into the caravan and lie still until someone found her. But her strength vanished as quickly as it had come, and instead she cowered in a ball, lying in a lake of her tears. She looked around in her surroundings, afraid of what else spied on her. The treacherous hot liquid disappeared. The earth dried. Annis did love certain things about living a life in the circus, but the joys Annis had experienced seemed violently ripped from her heart. A tremendous loss, following the disappearance of the circus and the intrusion of that unexpected feathered visitor. While crying, Annis felt a presence with her in this honest moment, and felt pressure, like a hand resting on her right shoulder. She then heard a beautiful voice, one hearing her distress calls. Don't weep, Annis. I don't know what to do. Why has this happened to me? There is nothing that you can do except rely on your senses and survive. You have a special gift, one that frightens more than charms. You must maintain your pure heart. You are never alone. Who are you? Take your time. The comforting feeling on Annis's shoulder vanished, as well as the voice. It felt familiar, but at the same time different. The confusion only made her situation more conflicted. Annis knew of no real gift. Annis sifted through some fuzzy moments covered in a thick blanket of amnesia. She attempted to force the annoyance away, but it only made the feeling of the abyss more unyielding and suffocating. She looked at Frank's circus banners flapping in the summer wind. Sounded like applause after the last title card in a flicker. For Annis to look at his prize work taunting her with every movement of the canvas, she had to confront her hidden desire for his warmth. Usually, Annis escaped her perpetual yearning for Frank's love by visiting a local movie house to watch the latest picture when their connection was non-existent. She related to the films as the greatest mentors. The characters on the screen, always tongue-tied, understood Annis's curse. Those times when she sat alone with the silent film stars left her euphoric. Annis never expressed her true feelings for Frank in real life. It seemed too awkward, and since Frank wasn't grounded in his body most of the time, there was no way to connect. Annis compartmentalized her devotion in her film. Monochrome tones with intertitles, with dialogue, to show any viewer their mutual exchange of passion and idolized affections. The talent of a piano player, bouncing with finesse off the ivory. Annis sat in a dark theater, felt secure and loved by him. A true celluloid secret life. Why did you leave, Frank?